We're really thrilled with our program today and to be able to start with a talk from basically my inspiration, and I think many of you inspiration, someone who speaks so eloquently and is so passionate about ocean conservation and really has created a movement, I think, around the world on ocean advocacy and raising awareness and attention to all the issues and all that is possible, all the solutions that are available. And so I'm very, very pleased this morning to introduce our first keynote with Dr. Sylvia Earle, who is, goes without further introduction, as I think all of you here know who she is. And Sylvia, please come join us. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you, Debbie, Charlie, all of you. I told Debbie that what she's created here, she and Charlie, and all of those of you who have participated, is a big blue magnet to pull together all of us, people who care one way or the other, bringing your hearts and minds to the issues of the part of the planet that really shapes the way the world works. It's amazing that it's taken humankind so long to realize how important the ocean is to everything we care about. Maybe not so surprising, considering that we are basically terrestrial creatures. Not present company, of course. But our long history, going back as far as you care to measure, 10,000 years, 50,000 years, 100, 1,000,000, 2, 5, we have fairly deep roots on this planet, but nothing like the creatures in the sea who preceded us by not just thousands or millions, but billions of years, fortunately for us, because Earth as it was in the very earliest days, even when there was a lot of water, was not a hospitable place for the likes of us. It's taken a long time, literally billions of years, for Earth to get to a point where we have a planet that works in our favor. It's taken us a frighteningly short period of time to work things in the other direction. I am among those who look at that red planet off in the sky and think about, it'd be so cool to go explore Mars. And I hope that present company, somewhere, sometime, there will be human footprints up there on the red planet to really gain greater appreciation for why the blue one really matters. Billions of dollars are being put into exploration of that red planet, our sister planet, Mars. And for good reasons. We should be doing that to take our questing minds as far as they can reach. But we have been neglecting our own blue backyard until maybe just about now, when it's becoming obvious that the ocean is in trouble. That means we're in trouble. When I was a child, the ocean was really taken for granted. Even in 1951, when Rachel Carson wrote The Sea Around Us, she too bought into the idea that the sea was so big, so vast, that there wasn't much that humans could do to harm its nature. She knew the land was in trouble, and she spoke eloquently about it. 10 years later, Silent Spring was a keystone turning point for our attitudes about the planet, but mostly the terrestrial part. Now we know that the ocean is not too big to fail, at least fail in ways that suit us. There will be life on Earth, one way or another, far into the future. But of course, what we care about is a planet that works in our favor, a planet that has just the right amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, systems that really, these dynamic living systems that maintain our life support system that we have, until about now, been able to take for granted. Again, when I was a child, when Rachel Carson was a kid, our view of the world was very different from what now is possible. I mean, think about it. I had a map on the wall. I think it had to be a National Geographic map, of course. Home of much information that has shaped the way the world works over the ages. There was a globe in our classroom, every classroom I had as a kid. And the land was portrayed in fairly good detail, but the ocean, big blobs of blue. It's as if it was just the space between the continents and the islands. No real regard was given to what's under the surface. I and you are among the luckiest people ever to arrive on the planet because we have come along at a time when we can plunge into that blue. Owing to Jacques Cousteau and Emile Gagnon, the pioneers who enabled us to find ways and means to go breathe underwater. What a concept. And all of the submariners, excuse me, gotta get it right, the submariners who have enabled us to go deeper, stay longer, even to that deepest part of the sea. Thank you, James Cameron. Thank you, Don Walsh. Thank you, Jacques Picard, for opening our eyes to the greatest depths of the ocean. And now, at this conference, we're having our eyes opened to some of the greatest problems that we now face. Of course, what we're putting into the ocean, the avalanche of plastic that is new since I was a child. I come from the pre-Plasticozoic, I make no bones about it. And I really love the use of plastics in positive ways, but it's what we do with them when we're through with them that is causing major problems. The ocean is not too big to fail. We have added things to the ocean, not just plastics, but the toxins, the CO2 from the atmosphere, a byproduct of burning fossil fuels that has really alerted us to big problems, the global warming trend, climate change, sea level rise. But now the conference is taking place concurrently with this festival, ocean acidification. That was not on Rachel Carson's balance sheet in the 1950s or 60s, or anybody's balance sheet in the 70s and 80s and 90s, but now it is in headlines. The ocean chemistry is changing owing to what one species is doing. That's a lot of bad news. But the good news is now we know. Now we know that our capacity to extract wildlife from the sea is way beyond what the ocean can sustain, what will make a planet work for us. Fish alive, we now understand, at least some of us see it this way, more important alive than dead. I got into big trouble when I was chief scientist at NOAA because I made a point of saying, you know, we only think of fish as having any value once they're dead. Dead fish values count. Live fish, zero accounting base. Fish are free, right? The investment, who cares about that? We have not accounted for nature until right about now. We're getting the message from the ocean that live fish, live krill, live lobsters, live shrimp, all of those things, we understand the value of wild birds. At least we're beginning to. But it wasn't that long ago that birds were taken commercially. Not that long ago that whales were extracted commercially. We're still doing that to fish, but now we're beginning to understand that the living ocean keeps us alive, and we have to return the favor. So in 2009, when Google launched the ocean in Google Earth, all at once, there was this new way of seeing the world. Woo-ha! New way to see the world. It was amazing, in a way, that when Google Earth came to our laptops and our desktops and even to our cell phones, that it did not, from the very beginning, have the ocean in ways beyond what you see on the average schoolroom globe. But that has changed. And from that point, 2009, to this day in September of 2012, a lot has been going on behind the scenes that is now being shared with the world, not just to be able to dive beneath the surface and see that it's more than just rocks and water out there, but to see that the ocean is alive. I love submarines because I can personally go and share images that I take, or diving, just splashing around in the ocean and sharing the images. But for the first time, those images now can be shared and geo-referenced on this little thing you carry around in your pocket or on your desk. Kids today are empowered with knowing. Ignorance is the greatest threat, not just to the ocean, but to our future writ large. We must understand what is known in the minds and hearts of people who really make it their business to understand how nature works and our part in the greater scheme of things. But now you can see those connections. You can see the sands of Africa being blown across the Atlantic and landing on coral reefs in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico. You can see how fires in the Amazon are clouding the atmosphere, and those smokes and the soot gets wafted across the planet. We can see these things thanks to the new ways of looking at the world. We, if you think about it, have to be the luckiest people ever to live on Earth, because we, you, all of us, have the power of knowing. You can't care if you don't know. Some people won't care even if they do know, but knowing is the key. And Google Earth and the new technologies that you are about to be first witness to, this is transformative. This is what makes all the difference in the world. I talk to kids sometimes who are really depressed about the state of the world, but I say to them, you know, if you could choose a time to be born, choose now. This is the sweet spot in history. You know, engineers know about the sweet spot. You sort of jiggle and wiggle with a device trying to get things so everything clicks to be just right. And if you are lucky, you get to that sweet spot. If you go too far, it's too late. If you work in another direction, it's too soon. 50 years ago, we didn't know what we now know. Maybe it was too soon for us to take actions that are now available to us. 50 years from now, it will be too late to do things that we now can do, to turn things around, to find an enduring place for ourselves within the natural systems, mostly blue, that keep us alive. So I'm here to celebrate with you a new way to look at the world, a new way to look at ourselves in the context of the living planet and find our enduring place within those systems. We are in the presence of great explorers. We're in the presence of great scientists, of great filmmakers, of great storytellers, of great artists. What a meeting, what an occasion to be here, to be a witness, to be inspired, to take our respective talents and go forth and make sure that 50 years from now, people will look back and say, thank you, Google, thank you, all of you, for doing what it takes to keep us informed, to show us the world with new eyes, to take us down deep into the sea, and of course, bring us back, to do everything we can to make the world a better place. Thank you.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just was supposed to announce that Brian Scary's program, so that we can all appreciate the kind of passion and inspiration that Sylvia was talking about, has been moved to 11 o'clock. So I hope that after this presentation that you'll all have an opportunity to join us. And to continue in that same vein of inspiration is Jennifer Austin Folks from the Google Oceans program.
everyone. Welcome. I'm Jennifer Fos, and I manage Google's Oceans program, and I want to thank you all for coming. And I'm up here to introduce my boss, Luke Vinson from Google. He is our engineering director and co-founder of Google's Street View effort. Luke is in charge of collecting, organizing, and publishing massive amounts of imagery and 3D content in Google Maps and Google Earth that brings the world alive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Great to be here with all of you in this great company. So I joined Google about 8 years ago, and on very much my first day at Google, I'm taken into a meeting room to discuss the possibility of capturing street-level imagery in lots and lots of places from cars. I didn't really understand at the time that this would make sense for Google, but nonetheless, 3 years later, or a bit less, we're able to launch a new product called Google Street View in 5 cities in the US. And that was a big milestone for us. But Google is all about comprehensiveness, about scale, and we didn't want to stop there. So we very quickly were able to expand in the rest of the US and then to Europe. But that was not enough. So a few of us, many of us in fact, felt that just showing streets was nice, but we also wanted to go beyond streets. So some of our engineers were able to take the equipment we have in the cars and put this in a big beefy tricycle and take this to bike paths, to university campuses, to places where you can't really go with a car, to parks, for example. And that was a great milestone too. Since then, we've also gone indoors. We have built, so we're able to shrink the equipment even more and put in what we call a push car, the trolley, which we take now to museums around the world and to other indoor places to again bring you this experience, these visually stunning places right to your desktop. And of course, we don't stop there. So we've also announced recently that we shrunk the equipment even more and put it in a backpack. So we're looking forward to now taking this imagery in national parks and other places around the world. We have now, in fact, imagery on 7 continents. We have recently launched imagery in Antarctica. That was like a few months ago that we announced this. And of course, we won't stop there. We'll keep going to more places. And so, this being said, with all this imagery, we're only looking at 30% of the globe, right? So this is why we're here today. I'm very delighted to announce that we're starting to address the remaining 70%. And we are partnering with the Catlin Seaview Survey to bring you underwater street view imagery in 6 locations. We have some in the Philippines, in Hawaii, and in the Great Barrier Reef of Australia. In all these locations, you can sort of virtually dive, essentially, without getting wet, into the ocean and explore street view style, the imagery. And we're going to make this, again, available to our 1 billion monthly users. And this is our part to sort of try and be comprehensive, and we won't stop there. This is just a start. So now if we can go with the video, and we'll show you a little quick demo of what this looks like. Suspense. So now I'll turn it over to Steve Silverman. He's a technical program manager on the Google Street View project. He was instrumental in making this underwater imagery available to all of us, and he will give you a quick demo.
Thanks, Luke. Let me get the other. Is this other mic live? The lower one. How about that? Okay, hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I've had the pleasure of working with Jennifer and the Catlin Seaview team to bring you some of this. So let's jump in. Let's go to our gallery page at maps.google.com/ocean. And if you jump in, you'll see these incredible images that are available to you. And it's the usual fantastic Street View survey, or Street View imagery, only it's underwater. So here we are on Wilson Island Resort. You can navigate around. You can look around and say, gosh, what's this over here? I can zoom in. You can swim to another part of the reef. You can jump around these coral beds. And you can see things that perhaps you've never seen before, your children have never seen, other people have never seen. It's not just isolated to one place. We've gone to 6 locations currently. Here's one of our favorites. So here you are. Everyone knows about turtles. How many people have had the chance to actually see a turtle? How many people have had a... Okay, this is an unfair audience. Fantastic. I know I'm in the right place. So what I really love about this is I can get close to this turtle. Not only that, I was in my little mask and I forgot to look around. So when I look over here, there's more. Not only that, I can see how I got there. So oftentimes people forget there's beauty above the water and there's beauty on your way into the water. And I can navigate around, go back in, and continue. So that's Heron Island. Here's Lady Elliot Island, which we've been to. Let's jump into one of our favorite places to go, to Hawaii. It's nearby. It's halfway between us and the Great Barrier Reef. You can see people are enjoying this. And again, you can navigate around and enjoy the experience from your home. So now we can jump into, let's go to one more place. There's Molokini Crater, there's Hanauma Bay, which is yet another beautiful site. And then finally a place where a lot of us would love to go, out to Apple Island and look at some amazing features. An ancient coral with a giant sponge nestled next to it. Just the imagery is fantastic. The experience is amazing. So if we jump into this, how do we get there? Well, again, thanks to Google Maps, we can experience that site just like you're used to with Street View and going into business locations. So now let's look at, just let me jump to another tab. Here's the world. Let's go into this Heron Island Resort. Let's just zoom our way in. Again, as Sylvia pointed out, I can see the oceans, I can see the world, I can see how amazing it is. And again, with this magnificent imagery, I can keep zooming in and zooming in. And I see this beautiful coral reef I would love to go diving on. I can drag Peg Man over here, and here's the magic. Ah. Sorry, I missed. And now we're back in. So I encourage you to explore these places, relax on the beach, think about what you could be doing, and perhaps going on a virtual dive from the comfort of your lawn chair and back into the water. So with that, I think we have some exciting next events. I'll introduce Jennifer Austin to...
Thank you, Steve. That was great. Thank you so much. So now I'd like to introduce our close colleague who collected all this imagery with his team, and that is, please welcome to the stage Richard Beavers, who is Director of the Catlin Seaview Survey. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you very much. What I want to do now is just take you through a bit of the story of the project and take you really onto the background of how this project has evolved over the last sort of couple of years. Now, this project was really inspired by the work of this man. Many of you in this room will know who he was. It's pioneer underwater photographer and cinema photographer, Ron Taylor. Now, I've known Ron for 10 years, and he's been advising on this project since its very start, and he was involved in the original concept for the camera. Now, sadly, Ron died a couple of weeks ago. Now, one of the things that struck me when Ron died was the world had lost someone that knew what our oceans were like 30, 40, 50 years ago. He was that record of the oceans, and we'd lost that. Now, together with his wife Valerie, they taught me the concept of the ever-shifting baseline. Now, when I first met Ron and Valerie, I was a disillusioned ad man who'd just given it all up to become an underwater photographer. And they took pity on me because at that stage I wasn't a particularly good underwater photographer. So they used to cook me dinners on Sundays. And I'd show them some of my images. And with each image that I showed them, I would rave about the underwater environment and what I'd seen. And they'd come back to me with a bit of encouragement at first, but then would say this one line: "You'll never know how good it used to be." And that really got to me. At first, I didn't really believe it. I couldn't accept that our oceans were better than what I was seeing. I was having these amazing encounters, and it just surprised me. So it actually got me starting to research. And I came up with some frightening statistics. First statistic I came across was that 90% of the large fish were gone. And it just surprised me that I didn't know that. Then another of the statistics that frightened me was 50% of the coral cover on our reefs have disappeared in the last 30 years. Now, that is less than the time that Ron has been doing underwater photography and cinematography. Then I started looking at the ocean in a different way. And this was a shot I took about 8 years ago of weedy sea dragons on Bondi Beach, where I was living. Now, weedy sea dragons for me are mythical creatures. They're just fantastic. And over the last few years, they've disappeared. Now, I used to dive at Bondi, and I'd see them on every dive. Now I don't see them. I haven't seen them in 4 years. Now, this is something that's happening on the world's most famous beach, and nobody knows about it. This wouldn't happen above water. Then I started really to think about the statement that they said to me. You'll never know how good it used to be. And I've got 2 very young daughters. One's 2 and one's just coming up to 1. And I realized when they learn to dive, I'm going to be saying exactly the same thing to them. So I decided it would be good to do something about it. Now, the biggest issue, as I see it, is our oceans are out of sight and out of mind. And if you look at it, it's a bit of an advertising problem, a great advertising brief. So, as an ex-ab man, I decided to tackle it. And I pulled together some of my ex-advertising friends, some of whom are in this room now, and we set up an organisation called Underwater Earth, a not-for-profit organisation, and our mission was to reveal our oceans to the world. How hard could it be? Now, it seemed like a simple solution to the problem. So we went about and designed a way of revealing our oceans to the world. Now, fortunately, technology had just got to the stage where this was all possible. So we came up with a design for an underwater scooter that could take panoramic images on a continual basis over large areas. And then we took some of the test shots and saw, yes, this is a concept that could work. And we produced our first mock-ups, obviously inspired by a certain company. But we thought, right, well, let's reveal our oceans to the world online. And we decided we'd present this idea. Now, this was at the stage where we first approached Google and Catlin. Now, Google, for us, was the obvious starting point. Now, they have access to millions of people. If you want to communicate with millions of people around the world, you've got no better partner than Google. As it was mentioned by Luke, over 1 billion people visit Google Maps each month. So, with Google as our starting point, we also approached Catlin. Now, Catlin Insurance is the main sponsor for this project, and they have a proven track record in sponsoring innovative projects, having sponsored the Catlin Arctic Survey for the last 3 years. Now, in fact, their marketing model really, I believe, is a case study for all companies. Instead of spending their money on advertising, they sponsor innovative, high-profile scientific projects. I mean, it really is very clever. It gives them a far greater brand awareness and return on investment than advertising. Now, coming from an advertising background, I just think that is very clever. It also gives them a greater understanding of their business. Now, Catlin, as an insurance company, helps people manage risk. And projects such as the Catlin Seaview Survey really helps them and the world understand the risks of tomorrow. Now, the third part is it does something good. It facilitates a globally significant project. So for us, it was a perfect partner. Now, there was one catch. We were all about revealing the world. Catlin wanted something a bit more scientific, a project that was based in science. So we went out looking for a partner. And we asked our other partner, Google, well, actually, we just typed it in, for the leading coral reef scientist in Australia. and we came across Ove. Now, Ove is director of the Global Change Institute at the University of Queensland. And really, Ove was, and Catlin, this point was a turning point in the project. Ove opened our eyes to the potential, the full potential of this project. And he's taken it to a whole new level with the science, which he's going to come up on stage in a second and explain in a bit more detail. Now, with these 3 partners on board, we finally got the go-ahead in November last year. So it's been a fairly frantic year getting to this stage. On the 11th of the 11th, we got the go-ahead, and the Catlin Seaview Survey was born. Now, one of the results of this is the camera that you see on stage here. Now, this camera has 3 very wide-angle lenses at the front, and it takes shots every 4 seconds. We can cover up to sort of 2 to 3 kilometers in a single run, and it goes for an hour at a time on each dive. But it allows us to reveal these underwater environments in a whole new way. Now, the camera will be on display in the foyer after this talk. And we have some of our partners, DiveX, who've helped us develop the camera, who will be able to talk you through some of the details. Now, these are the kind of shots it takes, but it takes a lot of them. On a single run, we take well in excess of 1,000 shots, which are then, it's actually 3,000 shots which are stitched together to produce 1,000 shots, which allows you to navigate through these environments. Now, we have gone out publicly, and some of you may have seen the press coverage that we've got overnight, with the fact that the Catlin Seaview Survey is a real game changer for the oceans. And that's what we believe it is. Now, this isn't a statement, though, from an ex-ab man. I am renowned for a little bit of overstatement at times. But this is actually a statement that came from one of the world's most renowned coral scientists, Ove. And I'm going to ask him to come up to the stage now and explain why.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. I think this audience, and as has been reiterated this morning by Sylvia, the oceans are the life support system of the planet, and without a life support system, life doesn't go on. Other life goes on, of course, as Sylvia said, but it wouldn't be as fun as what we have today. And it's half the oxygen we breathe, it's, quarter of the food we eat, and the ocean is absolutely essential for stabilising and our climate and making our planet habitable. It's also, as this audience has shown, a source of great beauty and inspiration for almost every person on the planet, and it is that great linker that we need right now. Now, unfortunately, despite all that importance and value and so on, many of the reefs of yesterday are gone. And there's 17 of these types of photos in Australia, which were compiled by the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, I think, that resonate with this point. This is a small patch of the Queensland coastline. We have a person enjoying the reef there, sitting on a coral. I guess that's not possible anymore. But this is what that looks like today. Now, there are literally 17 photos that are paired up like this where we can actually detect change over that period of time. So when Richard came and talked to me about the idea of getting 50,000 images that would give us a snapshot that would be precisely geolocated, I personally got really excited, because it's just the thing we need right now when we're seeing major changes in the ocean. Yes, we all know it's going on there, but actually where it's happening and why it's happening is not always immediately obvious. And if we're going to save things like coral reefs, we're going to have to know a lot more about where certain things are impacting, and then we can start to take actions. So this is where I think the science of the Catlin Seaview Survey is extremely important. Given the scale and rate of change in the world's ocean, there really is an urgent need for science that's able to increase its ability to detect and understand change at the global levels that it needs to be understood, to understand the risk and vulnerability of these beautiful systems. And of course that resonated and is one of the reasons why we have our main sponsor, Catlin Insurance, because their game is all about that. It's about estimating risk and vulnerability. And of course, given that rate of change and how little we know about the oceans, there really is a need for this sort of new thinking, game-changing approaches to looking at the problems that our ocean faces. And so the Catlin Seaview Survey, and I'm quite happy to be quoted there, is that type of game-changing approach to this problem. So the project starts on one of the world's largest, I have to be careful now because I think the Americans have a very large Hawaiian monument that I've got to be careful with, right? Yeah, okay. One of the world's largest marine protected areas, the Great Barrier Reef and the Coral Sea Conservation Zone, which has just been proclaimed. And it, like all of these other coral reefs around the world, houses over 1 million species and is part of that support to over 500 million people in the world in terms of their daily existence. The coral reefs, I would argue, not just because I'm a coral reef biologist, but they're incredibly important. Yet they're incredibly fragile. So the Catlin Seaview Survey is going to have 3 components. The first component is the shallow water survey, which is basically at about 5 metres, looking at how reefs, the structure and function of reefs at that depth. It's also going to have a second component, which I'll talk about in a minute, the deep reef survey, which is going beyond scuba diving depth. And then it'll have this lasting legacy, the global reef record. Let me tell you a little bit about these parts of the survey. The shallow water survey will record several kilometres of coral reef at each of the sites that it goes to. And these images will be taken back to the Global Change Institute, and using some innovative image recognition software will be analysed for the presence of coral, fish, turtles, and a whole range of different organisms. And this is part of a collaboration with Scripps Institute of Oceanography in San Diego, where they've now trained computers to look at photographs and identify corals and other elements of those photographs, which is absolutely essential because by the end of the year we're going to have 50,000 images, and there's no way that scientists could sit down and use the same old techniques to analyse those photographs and get their head around what's going on. At the same time as this is going on, the scientists will be deploying stereoscopic cameras, which will give us information on an incredibly important part of coral reef biology, and that is the structure of reefs. As you know, corals build a framework, and it's that framework that's so important for protecting coastlines, for building islands, for housing all those species, for providing that habitat for fisheries. Using these techniques, we'll be able to automatically get an idea of that three-dimensional structure, because there's very worrying signs around the world that with ocean acidification and global warming and other impacts, that three-dimensional structure is starting to break down, because that has huge implications for the world's fisheries, for coral reefs in general. Now, while the shallow water environments have been visited over the last 50 years or so since the invention of scuba diving, the deeper water habitats of places like coral reefs have not been visited that often. And in fact, we know very little. And one of the stunning facts about the Great Barrier Reef is that 93% of it is beyond scuba diving depths, at least safely. And we actually don't know much about those habitats. And just as an example, we had a test run with these diving robots, remotely operated vehicles that we're using on this project. A six-day expedition to sort of test this out, and this was fooling around with the technology, so we really didn't get much time at depth. But we had 4 new records of corals for the Australian region and discovered a brand new species of pygmy seahorse. And that's just an example of the biodiversity down there that's so important, that we don't know anything about. Now, the other issue about these deeper areas of the reef is that they may turn out to be incredibly important refuges against the very rapid changes that we may see over the coming decades in terms of the shallows. So we need to know a lot more about this. And there's really nothing known about them. And one of the ones that we're going to try and crack on this trip with these diving robots and instrumentation packages that we put down at these depths and come back and collect later, is to answer the question whether deep water habitats spawn at the same time as shallow water habitats. You know about the great spawning event on the Great Barrier Reef? Well, that's triggered by the warming of the water coming into the summer, but the crucial trigger is the phase of the moon. So corals have special proteins in their tissues where they can actually tell what phase of the moon we're at. They can actually detect moonlight. Well, the big issue about deep water habitats is if they're spawning at the same time as that mass spawning event, how do they know about the moon when they're under 300 feet of water? So it's one of these sort of questions. It's like visiting the Amazon for the first time going to these depths, that we're really discovering things, important processes that we need to nail if we're going to understand and preserve them. So the last component of this project is the Global Reef Record. Now, much of what's happening in this project is about technology suddenly maturing. So we've got this amazing network that's been built up through Google and other companies through this, hardwiring the planet for globalization. We've got those diving robots that have become sort of, the average man and woman can own one now, even you. It's a bit expensive, but, And they're a lot of fun though. But there's also been a revolution in the sort of technology for storing data, archiving data, and so on. And one of the lasting legacies of this project is to create an archive of everything that's collected as this project goes globally and collects that vital information, all the video, all the physical and chemical measurements and so on, all those images, and make them available to everyone. So if you're a scientist that wants to sort of have a look at a particular area, you can go there and look at that archive. And as we saw with those matched pairs of photographs, there's so much information there that's so valuable for us to understand the changes going on and get our heads around the solutions. So the expedition, as Richard said, has already headed out into this large part of the planet's biological inheritance. And it will be visiting 20 sites and doing shallow water and deep water surveys in those areas. And already, this started on September 16, but already the expedition has been making discoveries, posting things. There's huge amounts of value already that's come around. Now, one of the most exciting opportunities here is this outreach through the Google platforms. And this is, I think, really important because scientists for so long have been talking to scientists, and they are 99.9% sure that coral reefs will disappear. But I mean, it's like no one else seems to know that. You guys know that, but the rest of the world doesn't. And if we are to really solve these problems, we've got to get everybody on board, be that Russian grandmothers, Australian businessmen, Ethiopian teams. This is a global problem that needs global awareness to actually solve it. And one of the most amazing things that I was told the other day is that 99.9% of people have never gone diving. So that ignorance about, well, I shouldn't say ignorance, that lack of awareness about the ocean is really being driven by the fact that people haven't been there. And so if we can get as close as we can to getting 1 billion people to go virtually diving and to understand what's at risk and to understand the problems, I think we really do stand a really great opportunity to really tackle. So for me, Richard came up and told me about Reveal, which is brilliant. What we want to do is to take this project on the science level and measure, inform and understand, and then hopefully act. And I think that's really why I think this is game-changing. And it's going to involve a lot of partnerships across science. What we're looking for are more partners to join us on this mission, because it is really a global effort. And this is a quote from Sylvia, which is 100% correct. We are at that critical decade right now where the decisions that we make today we will have to live with for tens of thousands of years. That's a stunning moment of realisation that it's up to us right now to get this right. We need to get out there and make people aware of what's going on. And that's why this, science is a mysterious business. The idea that people can drop in and see the scientists at work, they can come diving with us, they can see the latest results, I think will go a long way to achieving this end. So I'll leave you with one of these images, and I believe we're now going to hook up with, yep.
Patrick, I'm a marine biologist and underwater cinematographer. I've got to see some pretty amazing cool things over the years, but the good thing about my job is that there's still so much more to see. The Catlin Seaview Survey is for the first time taking 360-degree panoramic images of the Great Barrier Reef, so we can look at how reefs change with time and to allow people to experience the Barrier Reef from anywhere in the world. An important part of the whole survey is public engagement. The idea is that we don't just want to be static, we want to be swimming around the reef to allow people to come on the exploration with us. It's just like a virtual dive for the people at home without getting wet.
I'm thoroughly jealous of your diving, but this is definitely the next best thing to it. So.
What's that? It's like you garden worm at home, but it's just squished out flat like a ribbon.
It's yellow.
Sometimes you can make them swim. Oh, look, there we go. Oh, look, look down. There's the Mary Rex. Let's see if I can tease him out. Come on, come on. Oh, here he is. Look at this. Coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Look at this. It's the Mary Rex. I hope you enjoy this coming out from underwater. And I hope to see you guys all soon. Have fun down there, eh?
Thank you.
We're facing an uncertain future on the reef, but to be able to communicate and talk about what's happening under there is just an amazing thing to do.
Google Plus Hangout on air, which means that anyone online right now can, if they have Catlin Seaview Survey in their circles, join in and see exactly what you're seeing right now. So we're hanging out with a diver on the Great Barrier Reef, and this is the first ever hangout on air with a night diver. So it's very exciting.
Say hello, Richard. And just like to. Yes.
Yeah, you get extra time. Yeah, he gets overtime, doesn't he?
Yes.
So Richard, tell us about that large mollusk in front of you there.
Well, this is a giant, so it's the largest bivalve that we have in the world. And this isn't even a big one, we get a lot bigger. This one's probably only about 10 or 15 years old. The really big ones get to be about 50 years old. But what a lot of the corals that are behind me, they rely on solar power to get their energy. They have symbiotic plant cells sitting in their tissue, so they can photosynthesize from the sun's energy to give them the power to grow.
Right. Now what don't you do?
Well, I only know one person in the world who's actually ever got caught on a giant clam.
What a silly person that person was. I don't know who that was.
Most humans don't put their hands inside of them.
Yes.
All right, let's move along.
Yes. Richard, can you say a quick hello to everyone watching online from around the world?
Hello everyone around the world. Welcome to the Great Barrier Reef in the very early hours of the morning. It's a beautiful night here, and hopefully we've seen a lot of turtles in the background while we've been waiting for the last couple of hours, so hopefully we might have one swimming. I'm coming to you live from Green Island. We've got a very good turtle population here. A lot of juveniles, red sea turtles.
Excellent. Do you want to go off and have a quick swim?
Okay, let's go for a bit of a tour. I'm just getting marine, my camera away and follow me around. We'll see what we can find.
What was that report about that large tiger shark?
Yes.
So it's a very good mix of hard and soft corals here. And there's a lot of sleeping fish. But the turtles were hiding behind this hole I gave just a bit earlier. There was a bit of a hollow where they would hop inside and they were sleeping at night. But, typical live TV.
In the tradition of Harry Butler. Yes.
But anyhow, you can see we've got some nice, here's some soft corals. There's a nice seaweed here, sticking out. It's quite a long one. This is another one of the soft corals we have in the Great Barrier Reef. Got a good collection of them, hard and soft. We'll just keep swimming around, see what we can find. Some beautiful bobbies here. Oh, look at this. This is cool. Hopefully we can get it fresh. There's a little boxfish.
Oh,
Big.
Ostracion tuberculatus.
I'll get very nice and close.
Oh,
Look at this little guy. He's fucking out. Gorgeous little fish.
Can you tell us a little bit about him?
Pufferfish. And they actually secrete a toxin out of their skin. So it doesn't make them very nice to eat. He's actually toned his colours down. Normally they're a bright vivid yellow during the day. But what we find is a lot of the reef fish, they mute their colours at night. Saves energy and also helps to protect them from predators, makes them less visual. It's a beautiful example of coral. What do you reckon that one is, Ove?
it looks like Parietes cylindrica. Or,
Very good coral expert there. I'm a bit biased towards fish myself, but there's some fire coral up behind.
yeah, that's. Oh. I think that's Stylophora. But who cares?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, look at him.
Oh, wow.
It's got a heavily armoured body, so it's like spending your entire life
life inside a suitcase just with your fins on the outside. Let's just go down.
Yes. There's a lot of particles in the water.
There's a lot more soft corals here. So the soft corals they don't actually build the reef like the hard corals. So they left the hard limestone skeleton. And because they're quite soft, they protect themselves by being highly toxic. So there's a lot of complex organic compounds in there that doesn't make it very palatable at all. And a lot of them also have little salacious spines in there. It's like eating a mouthful of fiberglass. So, yeah, not a good thing to eat.
Can you tell us a little bit about the difference of the reef at night versus day?
From day to night?
Yes.
Well, obviously during the daytime there's many more fish around. And there are Catlin Seaview at the moment. And what we're seeing now is a lot of the corals. They're coming out to feed. So that's why we're seeing the carnivorous side of corals, where they're feeding on the plankton. There's quite a bit of plankton here at the moment. So some other plankton areas like this one here, they're going up, this one up.
Yeah.
So that's a feather star, or a crinoid. So it's related to the starfish, sea urchins. Its legs are on the underside, the mouth is on the underside here. And they hold these arms up in the water to catch plankton.
And they can swim, right, when you drop them, right?
Sometimes you get little sprouted crabs and shrimp on the inside. Putting them down. So of course, the Great Barrier Reef is one of the largest marine parks in the world.
One of the largest.
Where over a third of the whole area of the Great Barrier Reef is actually protected. And part of the Catlin Seaview Survey will be taking visual surveys with the new 360 grid that you guys have probably seen in the program today, just so we can look at all these reefs. And here's a really nice cable here. This is a really good example of a coral feeding at boat time. You can see all these beautiful tentacles out. So this shows the carnivorous side of the corals. And if you touch them, they'll slowly retreat back into the limestone skeleton that's underneath, which is actually quite hard to touch. So obviously how the night corals get their name.
So on the Catlin Seaview Survey, we're going to be planning a whole series of Google Plus Hangouts, but most of these are going to be during the day. But how's your first night dive?
There he goes. Well, we've lost him. Come back, Richard. Hey! Oh, it's a little green. The turtle doesn't know how famous it's become.
Well, actually, go to one of the many nests we have in the Great Beaches on the Great Barrier Reef nest. One of the areas we'll be working in the far north called Great Island. A few years ago when I was up there, we actually counted 26,000 turtles on the nest, nesting in one night on the beach.
And that island is only, what, a couple of football fields in size, isn't it?
It's about 800 metres long and 300 metres wide. So it's just amazing. Oh, she's coming back down. Oh, Marie, let's go swim and see her again. She's been hanging out with us all night. But here at Green Island, these sea turtles are feeding on seagrass. Beautiful fields of seagrass around here. And you find these juveniles spending all their time during the daylight hours just munching and having a bit of a feed. Look at the shell, just dummy.
It's incredible to think that this is actually live.
It is.
Yeah.
What a world we live in.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Richard. Yeah.
You can sleep in until 7 a.m. if you'd like.
Yes.
It's fair, isn't it?
Excellent. Well, thank you, Richard, and thanks everyone who's watching in from around the world.
Well, thank you, everyone. We're going to move the chairs up here and just do a couple minutes of Q&A. I think that was really fantastic, and we look forward to all of you going and exploring on your own in Street View Google Maps and on the Catlin Seaview Survey website. So thank you, Richard, and over to you, Richard. And Luke is going to join us back on stage. So there's a mic. Someone is running around, and so if anyone has any questions, we'll just take a brief few questions about the survey, the project. It's not there. It's right there in the does anyone have any questions? Someone over here? Just come up to the front. Yeah, just go up to the front and Amber.
Hi there, my name is John Slayer, a filmmaker out here, and really interested in, obviously, this technology. Just wondering what the weather limitations are. I see in most of the stuff that you've got on here at the moment, really flat calm conditions. Of course, I'd like to get this stuff out to the Chagos and get it underwater over there. So, what sort of weather conditions are we looking at to get this done?
Well, today we've actually been very lucky with the weather conditions. It does perform well. Because this is a scientific study, we have some flexibility in the visibility. We're really promoting the most engaging, so where we've got clear water conditions. So anything above around sort of 10 to 15 meters gives us really engaging content, but even if it's less than that, we're still getting the scientific content that we need. And we certainly haven't come across any conditions where we've had a problem getting the camera out. The camera is actually going along at a steady 8 meters, so we're out of most of the sort of the wavy conditions. It's not really in those first 2 or 3 that it may have appeared in some of the shots. I must admit, some of those shots were slightly staged from an advertising point of view.
Hi, my name is Brian Mahoney. I'm just wondering if you're going to include any sort of species ID in these surveys or these videos that you can actually click on.
Yeah, well, we've had some discussion with, I think the first thing to say about this is that this is really a network of scientists. So it started with our involvement, but we are now linking with all sorts of groups. And one of those groups, for example, is the idea of coral ID being available so that as people learn about the reefs, they can go to these sort of resources and interpret and understand. The second part, which I think is really exciting, is the idea of citizen science joining the project. And there are various examples where in bird projects in North America where they take photographs of birds coming to feeders and so on. They end up with so many photographs that they can't, the scientists can't actually do the analysis. They then invite people online to essentially train up in bird identification, or lots of people are already there, and they actually do the work. And so I think there's great potential here for that type of use of this incredible digital data set.
Thank you. My name is James Thompson, and I'm the forward to And my name is James Thompson. I did some field work setting up baselines to Sunday because the reefs are changing so fast in the last 20 years ago. And I'm wondering if there's going to be a history layer like there was in the work.
Yeah, that's a really great question because there are these archives, as you say, that where people have been looking 40, 50 years ago. We've had various photographers in Australia like Ron and Valerie Taylor that have got this rich history, and I think we will be, as part of the archive and the Global Reef Record, starting to sort of collect and archive those bits of information as well. I've had some very good conversation with David Hannon over that. So it's a really important thing. But to have one site in the world where this information resides and everybody has access to it, I think is where we need to go. Good question.
Hi, I'm Marie Butcher. I'm with Sustainable Monterey Bay in our local region here. And I'm very excited about your work and the opportunity for educational and outreach opportunities. And I'm just wondering how often these public Google Plus hangouts occur and how often people can log in and how we can kind of further the conversation to get more students engaged.
Well, that's something that we're planning at the moment. We've got 5 expeditions going out this year. They're currently out there in the Coral Sea. Fortunately, we managed to get hold of an antenna that was used by James Cameron on his last mission. We've got very good comms on the boat, and we will be doing a fair amount of these hangouts, but we still got to work through the schedule, and we're working through that with Google. One thing we'd love to do is a 24-hour hangout so people can join at any stage throughout the day and night.
And I think the intention is to have this content used as much as possible, so that when these things are going on, that they would be able to feed into other education programs. I mean, just the virtual dives, I think, for high school kids or even primary school kids to sort of learn about the ocean, it's a great way to go and explore, count the number of turtles in this particular part of the world, and do your own scientific assessment. I mean, it's pretty exciting and very doable.
Yeah, hi, my name's Ingrid Visser, I'm from New Zealand. I'm a whale researcher, and I'm wondering whether you'll be able to do things like that with having these hangouts with researchers actually out in the field doing stuff topside but still ocean orientated.
Absolutely, we'd love to. And we're looking for as many partners as we can for this project.
Okay, count me in.
Excellent, we'd love to come out and see the whales. But seriously, it's about engagement, so we're looking for events. So whether or not it's aggregation of megafauna and being able to broadcast these lives and engage as many people around the planet, which is possible through Google+.
Hi, I'm David Guggenheim with Ocean Doctor in Washington, D.C. Hi, Jennifer. Great presentation, and count me in as well. I do a lot of education programs with thousands of kids across the country here, and this is very, very powerful. I have a geeky question. What is what were the georeferencing challenges? Because I know from my own work, trying to put a latitude, longitude, especially with something that's a finer scale than would be necessary, say, on a terrestrial street. What is the accuracy? What were some of the challenges you had to overcome on that element?
Yes, it was really sort of building on the science that O's team had been sort of working on, and we're actually trailing a buoy, which is a safety marker for both the divers. Because we're in 8 meters of water and we're going at a steady depth, we've got a fixed position for the GPS, which is located on the buoy behind. We've got very accurate GPS, but it's that process because we're on a constant. Really a constant speed. The buoy is trailed at a fixed distance. We can always monitor that and then correct it in the data afterwards. So it is as accurate as you possibly can be for the information that's currently available.
And one of the other things the project's working on at the moment is to use image recognition to, once you're in the area, you can then sort of start to find out what patch you're actually looking at, and it should be able to sort of find it. We can find it now. The question is if it changes dramatically, whether we can still find the same spot. But that's a work ongoing.
I think there's a lot of imagery we can changes going forward. The good news about the GPS here that there's no buildings to obstruct the signal, so at least you have really good quality, geolocation.
Then I have one question for Luke. Do any of the Googlers get to go on the expedition?
We do this one offline.
We'll be available for questions afterward. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone, thank all of our speakers.